Hello and welcome. My name is Vineet Malhotra and you are watching NewsX World. We start with the top headlines. US President Donald Trump has said he doesn't want to see a regime change in Iran, calling it a move that would cause chaos. He further emphasized that Iran is not going to have a nuclear weapon. Meanwhile, Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian has said that Iran will respect the ceasefire announced by US President Donald Trump, provided that Israel also upholds its terms. US President Donald Trump has said that he would probably be meeting Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on the sidelines of a NATO summit in The Hague. Gaza's civil defense agency has said that Israeli forces have killed 21 people waiting for aid near a redistribution site in the center of the Palestinian territory today. This is the latest deadly incident targeting aid seekers in Gaza. Ukrainian drone hits apartment building near Moscow, injuring 2, while Russian strike killed 6 in Sumy, according to TASS and Ukrainian officials. Meanwhile, Starmer and Zelensky have announced military production deal in London. Iran's nuclear chief Mohammad Islami said Tehran is working to restore its nuclear industry after damage from the recent US and Israeli strikes, with arrangements in place to avoid interruptions in production and services, according to local media. Maryam Rajavi, leader of the MEK and Paris-based National Council of Resistance of Iran, urged Iranians to bring down Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei's regime, calling it a step forward democracy following the Israel-Iran ceasefire, according to reports. Australia's Safety Commissioner is urging the government to reject a proposed exemption for YouTube from a world-first social media ban for under 16 set to begin on the 10th of December. Alright, US President Donald Trump has said he doesn't want to see a regime change in Iran, calling it a move that would cause chaos. He further emphasized that Iran is not going to have a nuclear weapon. Meanwhile, according to the Israeli Prime Minister, Israel refrained from further strikes on Iran following a call between Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu. The Israeli Prime Minister's office confirmed that Israel held back on new attacks after the conversation, despite earlier military actions. Israeli warplanes have struck an Iranian radar system in the hours after the ceasefire agreement went into effect. And according to Israeli Army radio, the strike came after Israel reported missile fire from Iran, which it deemed was a violation of the ceasefire. This comes as Trump had earlier accused both countries of violating the truce. Let's listen in to what Trump had to say.
We made the deal. They came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. I'm not happy with Israel. I'm not happy with Iran either.
And furthermore, the Iranian president also said that Iran will respect the ceasefire if Israel does. Additionally, Iran also reported Israeli missile strikes about 90 minutes into the ceasefire. The strikes caused no injuries. Iranian media also reported that an explosion was heard in the northern city of Bolsar in Mazandaran province and that emergency responders had been deployed. In a separate report, Iranian media also said that the deputy head of intelligence for Iran's police was killed in a strike. Meanwhile, global calls for negotiations continue, the last being the EU's foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas. Mr. Kallas has called for negotiations between Israel and Iran, urging both sides to return to the table and avoid further escalation. He further described the ceasefire as a frail reprieve that could easily fall apart. All right, Eric Wahlberg, political analyst, is joining us at this point in time from Toronto. Eric, appreciate you taking out the time and speaking with us. Well, there is a ceasefire in place. It is a sign of relief, but the big question that lingers on is it going to last, or is this conflict going to take another shape?
Well, I have doubts that it will last. Israel is it can't abide by any law. It has to break laws. That's the way Israel presents itself to the world. It's above law. So the idea of a ceasefire The only reason it agreed is because it gets all its funding from the U.S. and it can't push Trump. It's got to be careful. Trump's a very volatile, unpredictable figure, and he's spoken out in the past very strongly against Israel when at certain points when he feels he was betrayed. For instance, the assassination of General Soleimani. Trump wanted Israel to be part of that, and Netanyahu refused. So there's bad blood there, and I think that the fact that Israel, within minutes of the ceasefire, it had to send more rockets. It's like a neurosis that it has, that it's these compulsions. It's not a healthy society if you look at the way it functions. It's psychopathic. It revels in genocide, torture. It loves to terror. It is the real terror in the world today. It's the terrorist organization. So I don't know if, and I believe Iran is still considering retaliation, if not for that violation, for the fact that in the past 10 days, Israel killed 14 senior scientists. The way Israel uses modern technology is breathtaking. The way it just uses it for evil. It targets people, assassinates. That's its modus operandi. So I hope this ceasefire will hold, but it will be very difficult to see if Israel can control its compulsive behavior.
All right. Eric, appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much. Well, moving on, NATO's Secretary General Mark Rutte said that member states are united in boosting defense spending, spurred by the growing threat from Russia. The plan agreement would see NATO members spend about 3.5% of their GDP on defense and another 1.5% on broader security investments, including cybersecurity and intelligence. Rutte warned that Russia could be in a position to attack NATO territory within 3 to 5 years. He also said in recent weeks, Russian drone attacks have killed or wounded innocent civilians in Ukraine. NATO allies remain united and determined to keep Ukraine strong and work towards a lasting peace. Listen in to what he had to say.
And now, the last couple of weeks, these indiscriminate attacks on innocent civilians living in cities, living in communities in Ukraine, who go about their daily lives and get killed or seriously wounded because of these Russian drones and whatever. So this is terrible. So everybody is very motivated. Please understand that. I hear from all the allies to keep you strong, to keep you in the fight and to bring this terrible war to a durable and lasting peace.
Well, EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen echoed that warning, stressing that Europe must be fully prepared by 2030. She called this a tectonic shift in Europe's security posture, saying that that Europe of defense has finally awakened. EU leaders have unveiled a €150 billion funding program called SAFE, designed to boost investment in Ukraine's defense industry. The initiative aims to support Ukraine's fast, reliable and scalable military production with loans open to EU states, Ukraine and other partners. Ursula also praised Kyiv's reform efforts and backed advancing Ukraine's EU accession talks. She also announced a new tough sanctions package against Russia, urging Putin to engage in serious talks for a just and lasting peace. Listen in to what she had to say.
We have just discussed how important it is for Ukraine to invest in the extraordinary, agile and innovative Ukrainian defense industry. Therefore, we have designed a funding program of €150 billion, we call it SAFE, where member states, but also Ukraine and other partners can take these loans to invest in the Ukraine defense industry, which has shown its ability to innovate, to produce fast and reliably at scale. We can learn a lot from you, what that is concerned, but in this way we can support you also for the survival of Ukraine.
And Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky is calling on NATO allies to invest in Ukraine's defense industry, urging support for local production of military hardware. Zelensky said Ukraine must take the lead in the global drone race and warned that future security depends on tech advantage. The most important message right now, said Ukraine, is the unity of NATO and the European Union. This solidarity, they say, paves the way for stronger support, both for Ukrainians abroad and for those struggling to survive inside the country. Listen in to Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky.
The most important that the unity of NATO countries and all Europe and European Union, and you see this unity around Ukraine. I think this is the most important things. After this, it opens the way to strengthen Ukraine, to give us strong support, to help our people and families who are abroad to live, and to help to our Ukrainians who are in Ukraine to survive.
Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump said he will probably meet with Zelensky during the NATO gathering, signaling a possible dialogue amid shifting geopolitical tensions. All right, Marian Duris, European Affairs expert, he is joining us from Brussels at this point in time. Marian, appreciate you being here with us. What do you make of the support that Ukraine is going to get from the European Union and the NATO allies? Is this likely to escalate the war between Russia and Ukraine? And what position do you think Putin is likely to take after these announcements have been made?
Yeah, at first, let me say that it was kind of, I would say it was kind of a joke of Mr. Zelensky when he gave a lesson to as a leader of Ukraine, of a country which is not NATO member, and giving lessons to member states of this alliance how they should be united. What about this support? So EU and European Commission under Ursula von der Leyen all the time supports Ukraine, and people in the European Union and in member states are feeling some like forgotten in this intensive care of Chief of European Commission about Ukraine. If we say about NATO summit and possible another help and aid to Ukraine, I would say today's summit is tightly focused with clear agenda, and they will speak about boost defense budgets, about project unity, and respond to Trump's actions in the Middle East. But Ukraine remains somewhat sidelined. Tough bilateral support is ongoing from some countries.
What do you think this does to the security balance and sensitivities in Europe, considering the fact that Mr. Zelensky continues to get all this funding?
Yeah, Europe should find some security balance. It's for sure. It's very good said, and Europe should find another balance in case of funding as well, because Europe heard from own leaders about Rearm Europe project, which is 800 billion euro project. They listen plans about NATO defense spending on 5% of GDP, and they listen about more and more help to Ukraine. So people really feel, I would say, betrayed in this sense, because when you will invest so much in this infrastructure, in this defense projects and defense plans, and you will concentrate everything on this area, so how much money will be for life of citizens? What will be for education? What will be for health? What will be for construction of highways and roads? So there are important questions who are here around, and people are asking, but no leader like Mr. Rutte or Ms. Kallas or Ms. Ursula von der Leyen are not responding.
All right, Marian, appreciate you joining us. Thank you for that. Well, a heated war of words erupted between President Donald Trump and Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, where Trump called Powell a major loser. Trump argued that the economy is strong and free of inflation, claiming that lowering rates could save the U.S. billions and boost growth. Powell, whom Trump appointed in 2018, has increasingly become the target of the president's frustration. Trump believes that Powell's refusal to lower rates is hampering his economic agenda, and this ongoing tension highlights a deeper rift between Trump's aggressive economic policies and Powell's cautious, centrist approach. The Fed chair's independence remains crucial to his role, but Trump has repeatedly criticized Powell's autonomy. Despite their differences, Powell's term as chair runs until 2026, though Trump has suggested he could eventually fire him. The public feud has already created uncertainty in the financial markets, with Trump's economic policies contributing to volatility and the clash between the two continuing to have global economic consequences. Mr. Raymond Vickery, former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Commerce, joining us at this point in time. Mr. Vickery, always a pleasure having you, sir. Well, there is a back and forth going on between Mr. Powell and Donald Trump. Is it a classic case of anybody having a different opinion than of Donald Trump being targeted here?
Well, thanks very much for having me. I think you've put your finger right on it. There's no question that President Trump wants to change the form of government in the United States. You know, for 250 years, we've had a system of checks and balances. He's attacked the judiciary, anybody in Congress who disagrees with him. And now he's moved on to what has been established by law since 1913 in regard to the Federal Reserve as an independent body designed to promote two goals: one, full employment, and two, keeping down inflation. But President Trump does not want to see anybody have independent power in the United States. He wants to rule like a king, like authoritarian, and now internationally even like an emperor. This is not in accordance with what American tradition and values have been. It's not in accordance with what the values of other great democracies, whether they be in India, in Europe, Japan. There has to be a way in which there is some control over a single person. So his Donald Trump's calling Jerome Powell a dumb, hard-headed, are of a piece of his playbook, which is just simply to attack, regardless of what the facts are. I think if you look at the testimony which is being given today before the House Committee on Financial Services, you'll see that it's a very circumspect and balanced approach trying to keep down inflation while promoting full employment. Of course, Donald Trump wants to cut interest rates. That would mean an immediate boost in economic activity, but the longer run would be disastrous in terms of return of inflation. This is, of course, completely ironic, since Trump was the man who appointed Jerome Powell chairman in the first place. The man is far from dumb. He has an eminent record both in scholarship and in his past activities in helping President Biden bring the country out of the COVID crisis. But it's all of a pattern, and it remains to be seen whether or not our constitutional and rule of law will hold in the United States, and we look for support from other democratic nations and centers of those who advocate a rule of law, constitutional approach to government.
Mr. Vickery, there's also a conversation which is, gaining a lot of momentum, and that is about the president's ratings and a possible impeachment if everything continues to fall apart around him.
Well, he is in no danger of being impeached with the present Congress, because it requires a vote in the U.S. Senate, and that's just not going to happen. He's been impeached twice already, and he seems to simply disregard what he has done, both in attacking the system in January of 2021 to try to keep himself in office after he had lost, and his attempt to strong-arm Ukraine for his first impeachment. But the real salvation here is in two parts for our system. One, will the Supreme Court hold and uphold the rule of law? And that's very doubtful, since there's a 6-3 majority on that court, and we've already seen decisions giving President Trump and other presidents immunity largely for their actions. But the real test will come starting this year in Virginia and New Jersey, where there are gubernatorial elections for governor, and then the midterms next year. And the political system will have to hold there in order to rein in what is a rush to authoritarianism, which is contrary to the values and principles that the United States has had for almost 250 years.
Mr. Vickery, always a pleasure having you, sir. Thank you so much for speaking with NewsX World. Well, that's all we have time for. We will continue to bring more